Imagine someone touching your hand or shoulder and you wish they wouldn't because it felt like 1,000 needles piercing your skin. Imagine your mom or dad calling your name and you're not sure quite how to respond. Imagine being so interested in speedometers on cars that when you see a car driving down the street, you chase after it, not recognizing the danger. Imagine loving trains so much when they arrive, when they leave, the routes that they take, that you're confused when someone asks you, have you ever been on a train? And where did you travel? And you're not quite sure how to answer them. Imagine not being able to tell your sibling or your friend your worst fears because you can't put the words together to do so. Imagine walking into a room and you see birthday cakes and you see party balloons and a group of people who seem really excited to see you and are looking at you and you're thinking, what's happening? Not realizing it's your birthday party and they're there to celebrate. Imagine wanting a friend so badly that when you step into a conversation, everyone walks away. And you're thinking, was I standing too close? Did I say something inappropriate? Why don't they want to be my friend? Unfortunately, children, adolescents, and adults with autism don't have to imagine any of these experiences. They live them day to day. So let me give you another example. Have you ever driven from your house or from your office to your home and wondered, how did I get there? You didn't even have to think about it. I've done that a few times and it's a bit scary. But the reason we don't think about it is we have what we call automatic processing. When we've done something over and over and over again, it becomes very familiar to us. It's automatic. We don't have to think about it. Now, think about getting in your car and you're driving home from the office and you realize you're in an ice storm. And as you're driving down the steep hill and cars are skidding and sliding every which way, you have your hands clutched to the steering wheel. You have this knot that is starting in the back of your neck. Your frustration is increasing because you can't really predict how other drivers are going to respond, and you can't control how they're driving. You're thinking, I cannot wait until I get home. And normally it takes you 10 minutes to get home. This time it took you an hour and 10 minutes. When you drive up in your driveway and you turn off the keys, you think, I feel so relieved. The frustration is gone. The anxiety has decreased. For children with autism, each day is like driving through an ice storm. So let's talk about why that is. They don't really have any automatic processing. They're on controlled processing, which is what you experienced when you were in the ice storm. You had to think about everything that you did. You had to think about who was going to move next, how the ice was going to manage your car, and did you have the right kind of tires, and are you going to be able to get home safe? And you were really looking for that safe, familiar place. Children with autism are always walking through ice storms. So why is that? Well, some of their ice storms are because they cannot join a conversation. They have challenges learning even though they know information. They can't share an experience that you can share because it's difficult to look at you or understand what you're really interested in. They have a hard time formulating ideas. Now, one of the things is they don't have any automatic processing. Everything for them is controlled processing. There are a lot of factors that we know are contributing to these difficulties. One is they have a unique biological and genetic profile that makes it very difficult for them to maneuver the world. Secondly, they have an absence of what we call neural connectivity that allows us to process the world. But for them, it's altered, so how they see the world is very different than how you and I see that world. So what do we do about that? Well, one thing that we haven't realized is that actually children with autism, adolescents and adults with autism have extraordinary abilities, some in art, some in music, some in manipulation of numbers, graphic designs, and yes, some even in sports. So the question is for all of us, how can we help an individual with autism fit into this, what I call our neurotypical world, which is not their world? A couple of questions for us. Do we modulate our behavior so that we can make this neurotypical world more palatable for them? Do we appreciate the unique contributions that they make and the exceptionalities that they have? I would say that the answers are yes and no. One good thing is early intervention works, and we know it makes a difference. But our research team had a different idea. We were looking for sustainable change for kids and families who were affected by autism. And we decided we needed to think about new ways to do intervention that was even more effective. So we considered two things. The first thing is we wanted to know what could we do that would help increase the comfort and decrease the anxiety and frustration, remember that you felt in the controlled processing of an ice storm, while they're negotiating the social challenges and social connections that we try. In other words, we wanted them to have fewer ice storms. The second thing that we considered was there is one constant in their life, and that's their parents or their families who care about them. And was there a way that we could engage them in our research process? Now, this was a risk because it compromised all our abilities in terms of control of the environment. As a researcher, you want to control this environment, you want to publish your material, and journals are not necessarily open to you not having experimental controls. However, we decided that we wanted more than just efficacy in the lab setting. We really wanted to make a difference in the natural milieu, or the setting where kids are most comfortable and familiar. Remember, getting home after that ice storm. So our families have been fully engaged in 3 major research studies that we are doing currently. One is a peer play study where a child with autism is matched to their typical peer. And what is the role of families as researchers? They actually define who the typical peer is and help us negotiate the activities that the children are going to be in. Another study is looking at the use of social stories and comic strip conversations to decrease those difficult social connections at home and in the neighborhood, and our families are writing the stories with us. A third is looking at joint attention and helping families share experiences with their children, much like you and I did when we were in kindergarten and we brought our first paper from home and we burst into the door and we were so excited to share with our families, look what we did, what we accomplished. We wanted that for our children with autism. We also realized that families have learned to manage this neurotypical world for their children, and it would have been a missed opportunity for us not to engage them in our research activities. So, our family-centered approach to intervention has had some extraordinary results. And we have given up data loss and participant attrition, knowing that it's more important that we get some sustainable change. But we found that when we were breaking down barriers, us as researchers, families as caregivers and partners, their children have a lot fewer ice storms. Thank you.